Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to give it a few minutes to allow more participants to log in. We'll be starting shortly. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. My name is Freddie Garcia, and I'm joined by my colleague, Bailey Williams. Bailey, do you want to give a wave? And we're commission members from the Dutchess County Commission on Human Rights. And today we'll be serving as moderators of the forum. Again, thanks for joining us and listening in. But wanted to make sure we know, today we'll be listening to your ideas about police reform. In just a few minutes, we are going to give you some information about the Police Reform Collaborative. First, I do want to note that we are recording today's forum in order for folks to review it later, whether it's our elected officials, police administration, and or community members. And now I'll pass it over to Bailey to kind of introduce a couple of folks who are joining us today.
Thank you, Freddie. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bailey Williams. Tonight we are joined this evening by elected officials who are here to listen to your ideas about police reform. They are Hannah Black from Dutchess County Legislature, Christopher Munn from Dutchess County Legislature, Rebecca Edwards from Dutchess County Legislature, Deputy Supervisor Neil Kupnick from the town of Hyde Park, David Ray, Hyde Park Town Board Member, Ken Schneider, Hyde Park Town Board Member, Jay Baisley, Supervisor from the town of Poughkeepsie, Matt Hartzog, Millerton Village Trustee. We are also joined by Captain John Watterson from the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office. He is on the call, and other police leadership are also on the call. Thank you all for attending. I also want to thank the American Sign Language interpreters from Mid-Hudson Interpreter Service, a program of Taconic Resources for Independence. So why are we here this evening? Both the president and the governor have issued executive orders that require police reform. Governor Cuomo's Executive Order 203 requires every municipality that has a police agency in New York State to create a police reform plan. Each municipality with a police agency, including the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office, must create a plan that covers all of the policy areas in Executive Order 203. The county is leading a collaborative process that includes municipal leaders, police agencies, criminal justice council stakeholders, and community stakeholders to review research, best practices, and community feedback to create a county plan that can also be used by individual municipalities with police agencies to inform their plan. This meeting tonight is part of this collaborative process. Municipalities can use all, some, or none of the county's plan. It will be up to each municipality to decide what is included in that municipality's plan. Once the municipality has their draft plan, they must get public comment on their plan, create a local law or resolution to adopt and implement the plan, and send the final plan to the director of the New York State Budget Office by April 1st, 2021. For more information on the Dutchess County Police Reform and Modernization Collaborative, including the executive orders, please go to dutchessny.gov/police reform. Freddie, you're on mute.
Yes, thank you. So what we will do tonight. So the purpose of tonight's forum is a listening session to hear your specific ideas and suggestions about the police reform. We have invited elected officials and police leadership to hear your feedback. However, it is not a dialogue session where they will respond. So this is an opportunity for them to take your comments and suggestions in. Speakers who have registered and have a connection to this geographic area will be given speaking priority. If there is time left, we will ask anyone else who would like to speak to raise their hand, and the moderators, myself or Bailey, will call on you. Again, sessions will be recorded and posted to the same page that you registered at dutchessny.gov/police reforms. So what we will do with the information that we received today. So all feedback will be used to inform the county's plan and may inform your municipality's plan. So again, again, that's why we're recording it, and people will revisit the information that is given out today. So in terms of the format and how this will go. So as we said, anyone who pre-registered and said they want to speak, we will call on those folks first. Every speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. When your 3 minutes are up, we will make sure to let you know, and we'll move on to the next speaker. If there's more that you would like to say and share with us, we highly encourage that you visit the website and send us comments via the email. When you are called to speak, please state your name, and if you're representing an organization, the name of the organization and where you are from. Refrain from naming individuals for safety reasons. And the question, again, that we are trying to answer today is, what are your specific ideas for police reform?
Okay, we are going to begin with those who registered and indicated that they wanted to speak. And then after we are through those comments and suggestions, we'll open the floor and you can raise your hand to speak if you did not pre-register. If you registered to speak but are attending via a phone number, so we can't recognize your name, when we get through the registered speakers who have their name, then when the floor opens up, we can try to address those people then. So we'll begin with Caroline Fenner.
Hi, good evening. My name is Caroline Fenner. I live in the town of Poughkeepsie at 42 Croft Road. I believe the town of Poughkeepsie should pass the Right to Know Act. The Right to Know Act is it's a police transparency law that will require police officers to identify themselves, name the reason for a stop or encounter, and provide information on the complaint process at the end of encounters that do not result in an arrest or summons. The Right to Know Act sets into policy what we already know is good policing. Far too often, people have no idea why they are being questioned, stopped, or searched by a police officer. Policy in certain police departments already requires that officers provide their name, rank, shield number, and command when asked. However, in many instances, officers do not identify themselves to members of the public, and many individuals report fear of asking for the identity of an officer for fear of retaliation. Research suggests that in the absence of anonymity, officers are more likely to engage in respectful and courteous behavior towards civilians they are interacting with, and civilians are more likely to feel a sense of trust, clarity, and mutual respect. The Right to Know Act helps create transparency and better communication between the local police department and the community by clearly conveying information that is vital for civilians to know, and it is the cornerstone of good community policing. On July 13th, the City of Poughkeepsie Common Council voted unanimously in favor of the Right to Know Act. After the bill passed, the City of Poughkeepsie mayor said he thought it was important to have consistency of police experience around the region. So he thought we should advocate for this in surrounding municipalities, including the town of Poughkeepsie. So I am doing just that tonight. I would like the Poughkeepsie Town Board to consider putting the Right to Know Act on the agenda for discussion as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Bailey, you're on mute. Sorry.
Thank you, Freddie. Thank you, Caroline. Next, we have Bill Rubin.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Okay. So I think I would just like to emphasize actually what the facilitators have kind of said at the beginning. So not to repeat what they said, but I do want to say that I do think that police reform is the appropriate response to the events of the last few months and the last few decades, and really even the last few centuries. And I commend Governor Cuomo for issuing Executive Order 203, and I commend County Executive Mark Molinaro for responding by initiating forums like the one we're at right now. However, the thing I do want to emphasize that I suppose some of the officials know, but I'm not sure how much they really know this, that the local responsibility for police reform doesn't lie just with the county executive. In fact, the executive order doesn't even mention county executives. Okay, what the executive order does mention as being directly responsible for police reform is the chief executive of each local government. In the town of Poughkeepsie, where I live, I should have mentioned, I live in the town of Poughkeepsie. This means Town Supervisor John Baisley. So as I understand the executive order, Supervisor Baisley is directly responsible for developing a plan for police reform through meetings and consultations with the police chief, community members, and with emphasis in areas with high numbers of police and community interactions. The plan is required to consider a long list of issues, including police use of force, procedural justice, systemic racial bias in policing, implicit bias awareness training, de-escalation training, diversion programs, restorative justice practices, community-based conflict resolution, problem-oriented policing, and a whole long list of things. I'm not even going to read the whole list, okay? But let me just emphasize, the supervisor is required to consider all of these things and more. And then the Poughkeepsie Town Board is required to implement the plan that the supervisor and other officials come up with. And then Supervisor Bailey is required to certify to the state that this plan has been implemented, and to do so by April 1st. And if all of these things don't happen, the risk is that the state will withhold all state and federal funds to the town of Poughkeepsie next year. So I really hope that the supervisor, the town board, the police chief, and other officials are moving forward with their responsibility to implement this executive order. And I have to say, on so many levels, it's the right thing to do.
Thank you, Bill.
Next, we have Peter Wesley.
Hi, I'm not really prepared to speak right now.
Okay, we can go through the list and then come back to you at the end if you'd prefer.
Thank you.
Okay. Next we have Kim Rybacki.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. My name is Kim Rybacki. I do live in the town of Poughkeepsie, and I also work in the town of Poughkeepsie as well. And I just want to say thanks for this opportunity to speak, and I apologize in advance for probably how quickly I'm going to speak and trying to get through everything. I do want to start just by addressing what I would describe as an attitude of defensiveness coming from certain law enforcement officers and departments in recent discussions, and this is both locally and nationally. I think we need to be clear that what is often referred to as distrust of police within communities of color, especially Black communities, is due to the well-documented abuses at the hands of law enforcement. This is not to say that every person in law enforcement is abusive. This is a systemic issue greater than the actions of any individual officer. When one chooses to become a law enforcement officer, however, they choose to become a part of this system. It is admirable that some officers and departments want to be a part of the process of reform, but this work cannot be done without acknowledging the very real history of abuse that has shaped current law enforcement practices. I do not doubt that policing is a difficult job and that it has become more difficult as calls for accountability and reform increase. This difficulty, however, does not originate with the people calling for accountability or from within the communities that have come to distrust the police after years of abuse. Trying to equate these calls for accountability with the discrimination that is faced by people of color, trying to equate quote unquote blue lives with Black lives is adversarial, unwarranted, and unhelpful. Trying to rework the narrative to make law enforcement agencies the victims is not a viable path forward for meaningful reform. In terms of specific suggestions, I would suggest that we need to make sure we are not using police departments to address social issues that are outside of the realm of policing. Homelessness, mental illness, and addiction are issues that need not fall under the purview of the police. It is not fair to citizens in crisis, nor to police departments for that matter, to try to address these social issues using tools that often escalate them. We also need to address the school to prison pipeline. There are disturbing racial disparities in our local schools. According to 2015 data, I don't know if there's more recent data available, at Arlington High School, Black students make up 8.7% of the total student population, but 18.5% of in-school and 23.8% of out-of-school suspensions. At FDR, the numbers were 12.6% of total population, 21.8% of in-school, and 27.7% of out-of-school suspensions. Research has shown that harsh punitive measures increase the likelihood that young people will become involved in the criminal justice system. And furthermore, research has shown that police presence in schools can accelerate this pipeline. So we need to find alternative ways to assure school safety without the presence of police in our schools. Relatedly, I do not believe that a switch to armed peace officers is necessary or warranted at Dutchess Community College. The private colleges in our county do not rely on armed officers to keep their campuses safe, and neither should DCC. Funds can better be directed to mental, academic, and financial support of students, all of which can contribute to a safer campus community. I've heard it recently suggested by law enforcement officers in Dutchess County that national issues and concerns should not drive local discussions or decision-making. So I would ask for transparency regarding what questions and data are driving local reform efforts. Recent forums and events have made it clear that many Black people and other people of color do not feel safe in Dutchess County. What is being done about this? What steps are being taken to address instances of racism in our county? What data is being used to assess racial discrimination by police departments? The latest data that I found, which is nearly 10 years old, shows racial—
Excuse me.
Yes.
I'm sorry. You're at your 3-minute mark.
Okay.
So I just wanted to pause there and make sure we give everyone an opportunity. But if you like, you're more than welcome to email us and send us the rest of the information you want to share.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kim. Appreciate it.
Next, Geraldine Wilmot.
You can hear me now, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Just making sure. Okay, so I'm Geraldine Wilmot. I'm a resident of Hyde Park, and I have been a member of NJAN and the New Jim Crow Action Network for about the past 9 years. NJAN works on reducing mass incarceration, and we've gotten involved in a court watch system. We've also gotten involved with the schools to prison pipeline, which I've done extensive research on. I've been involved with the with SUNY New Pulse. Their think tank is doing a giant, has completed actually a giant study of the schools to prison pipeline in the Hudson Valley. And the town of Hyde Park is right there ready to, it is a part of that schools to prison pipeline. Originally, I'm a historian. I'm a history teacher. I taught in New York City for 10 years, and I also taught high-risk students for a year, students who had records. Originally, the police were slave patrols. That's how policing started in the United States, as slave patrols. Obviously, their targets were people of color. Soon after that, people began employing guards for their, their rich cargoes from abroad. And obviously they messed up in Boston, but they would guard these cargoes and therefore they would work for the corporations, large corporations at the time, or wealthy merchants. They would be the large corporations of the time. Later, police were used for union busting. And in the Roaring '20s, especially the robber barons used them to make sure that the unions did not take hold, and they used them to protect their corporations, to lock up the gates so the workers couldn't get to work, and then physically attack them. So that's where I think the mistrust or the enmity comes between the Black community or communities of color and the police and policing. It starts with our early history. It starts in 1619 and it goes up to today. White people consider the police their friends, you know, or someone they can go to. But if the more you talk to people who are lower on the economic scale, the less the police are their friends. I know, obviously, working class people who have been on strike, the police are not necessarily your friends when you're on strike. So what does this town need? We need our own town-wide committee. Even if we do go along with considering the county committee, our committee for police reform, I really believe that we need a town-wide committee because Hyde Park is unique. We're contiguous with the town of Poughkeepsie and the city of Poughkeepsie. There's a lot of back and forth of people coming to Hyde Park and people from Hyde Park going into Poughkeepsie for various things.
Geraldine, I'm sorry, your 3 minutes are up.
Oh, really? Oh,
yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So again, I see that people have a lot to share. Feel free to visit the website at dutchessny.gov/police reform. And you can always send us your additional comments there.
Right. You'll be getting them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Reverend Mizzy Gilly Jr.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry, the video, I don't know what, for whatever reason, the video is not working. Yeah. And I'm pastor of Holy Trinity here in the town of Poughkeepsie. And just a couple of things that I would like to share. Yeah, one of the things that were with regards to all this, and I've been listening very intently and wasn't sure if I was going to speak, but I think it really is a priestly duty to do this now. Respect for everybody, not just the police. We want to thank for their service. My family has a long line of service here in the country. I grew up knowing a lot of NYPD. A number of my family and personal friends are from the NYPD. Before coming up here to Dutchess County, I was the former chaplain to the Yonkers Police Department, Catholic chaplain to the Yonkers Police Department, and subsequently has spoken to a number of law enforcement. So that being said, I wanted to say that with regards to for police reform, but I think we also need to be on board too to respect the law enforcement officials, respect our elected officials, respect for oneself. Also, the officers need to themselves respect the community they serve, the community beyond, and also given the times in which we face that all civilians, all of us, in that sense of not trusting, the police officer is the one who holds that authority, and properly to that point, we need to make sure that all are aware to build those blocks of trust between the police department and the community to know that who we are and who we're not. So it takes a village to build a community. So we really need to be able to help each other and guide each other. So with all this, I think we need to help the police themselves and allow the elected officials to be able to, in that sense, this evening is one of those forums, but to allow also the clergy to be involved in that so they can help build those building blocks of trust and respect in the communities that they serve. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. And so now we'll turn to Peter Wesley. If you're prepared at this point, you can have the floor. Looks like Peter may have left the chat. I'm double checking the list.
No, he's on mute.
Oh, he's on mute?
He's here.
Now, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. There you are.
Okay, so I said I've lived here just over 3 years, and in that time I've had no contact with the town of Poughkeepsie Police Department. So it's very difficult for me to project from what's going on in the United States onto the town of Poughkeepsie Police. So the only thing that I would add to what other people have said is that I would like to see police departments accept a civilian review board. I think that would really help matters a great deal. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, that's all of our pre-registered speakers. So we're gonna open the floor up. You can raise your hand if you'd like to offer your specific ideas for police reform. So you can use the raise hand feature and I'll call on you in the order that your hands are raised. If we get through all of the speakers, those of you who have spoken before, prepared a statement, but didn't get an opportunity to finish, if there is time remaining at the end of the session, we'll circle back to you so you can raise your hand if you'd like that opportunity. And we'll go through the speakers to give everyone a chance to speak and then come to you. So first we have Elijah Appleson. Elijah Appleson.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, my name is Elijah Appleson, and I'm a member of Engine and I Am Citizen, but I'm speaking right now as a resident of Poughkeepsie. Policing in Poughkeepsie needs to change. Last week, I was a passenger in the passenger seat of a car with a person of color who was driving, when we were pulled over for not fully yielding at a traffic circle. Not only were we pulled over for an hour, a second cop car came, and 3 police officers surrounded us, searching it with their lights from the outside. We were lucky because for others, this could have been a death sentence. The harassment by police in our community is unacceptable. To combat policing in our community, we need to pass the Right to Know Act in the town of Poughkeepsie. We also need to drastically, and I say drastically, defund the police and reinvest the money into the community through mental health programs and academic funding. Finally, Poughkeepsie police needs more accountability. They need to daily post the data of the gender and ethnicity of the people they pull over, how the interactions went, whether there was an arrest or a ticket, and other pertinent data. However, reforms are only the first step of what truly needs to change in our community. Policing does not create safer communities. Policing is a form of social control to regulate poor people and people of color. Police abolition is the only way to create true change. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Kirsten Menking. Kirsten Menking.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
Yes. Go
okay. So I would like to express my thanks to the police for the work that they do, but at the same time, I also am deeply concerned with police brutality, and I want to acknowledge the fact that Breonna Taylor was killed and her killers in the police department were given a pass today by the district attorney in Kentucky, who decided not to file any charges against them after the grand jury decided that those charges were not warranted. And I find that tragic. there are clearly issues of systemic racism in policing, and those issues need to be addressed. I think the ideas of having a civilian review board are excellent, but I would also really like to see what I would call a right sizing of the police. There's been a lot of discussion about defunding the police. I don't feel like defunding is the proper word. I feel like right sizing is the proper word. And the reason for that is that there are true violent crimes that we need a police force for. However, the percentage of what the police are called to do that are violent crimes is very, very small compared to the other things that they have to deal with. And I speak as a person who has a child with mental health conditions, for whom I've had to call the police on several occasions over the last decade. And what frustrates me is the fact that we don't have good mental health services in this community. And I would really like to see a kind of a mental health crisis team that could be dispatched in place of the police that can de-escalate family violence situations and make sure that everyone is safe and behaving properly. And so I think there are an awful lot of things that the police are asked to do that they don't have the proper training for, or don't have, they don't need to be there. This is another example would be, dealing with people who are having drug issues.
Kirsten,
And,
just want to let you know you're approaching your 3-minute mark if you want to.
Okay, yeah, thanks. So I would like to see a right sizing of the police and a shifting of some of the funding to enhancing social programs, particularly mental health programs here in the town of Poughkeepsie and in the county at large. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Kirsten. Jody Spyak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, so I'm the pastor of the Poughkeepsie United Methodist Church, and I just want to thank the folks who put this together for having this difficult conversation. We can't afford to say and do nothing right now, even though the saying and the doing is uncomfortable and difficult. So thank you for doing this. I've been here for a little over a year now. I'm in Poughkeepsie. When I was appointed here by my bishop, I was reminded that Methodist pastors are not appointed to churches, we're appointed to communities. So it is my responsibility and obligation as a faith leader in Poughkeepsie and Dutchess County to be present in these kinds of conversations. And I would invite all of our faith leaders in the community to be vocal. I'm speaking in support of police reform tonight. I think for all the reasons already mentioned, it is absolutely necessary. There is a systemic racism which is baked into all of our systems and structures. And the only way is structural reform. A lot of great ideas have already been said, and I support all of these. Transparency. I think accountability is essential. I really love the idea that was just mentioned of a mental health crisis team. As a faith leader, I just want to offer two tools that I think the faith community can help provide. And these are less tangible, but essential. And those tools are that we need to have a humility in the way that we approach this. We need to set aside our defenses, to have honest and open conversations. And we need to work hard to develop a deeper sense of empathy and understanding of one another. So again, I thank everyone for the work they're doing. I look forward to being part of this conversation in the future and to seeing real change. So thank you.
Thank you. So the floor is still open if there are others who would like to make comments or suggestions to the question, what are your specific ideas for police reform? So if you'd like to speak, you can raise your hand. Okay. So right now we have no news. Okay, we have a couple more. So again, if you've spoken before and you'd like to finish your comments, you can raise your hand and just leave it raised. And once we have no other new speakers, we'll get to you time allowing. So we'll start with our new speakers and then we'll work our way down. Karahokalter.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for having this forum. My name is Karahokalter and I live in Hyde Park. And I just wonder if the police themselves are given the opportunity to really reflect on how they can make people in the community less fearful of them, to hear their own suggestions and ideas about that. And I also wonder about gun use and whether they feel that New York laws are strong enough, or if they feel that more protection needs to be given so that the guns aren't so prevalent in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Alan Cass. So you're on mute, Alan. You can, there you go.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Alan Williams Cass. Most people know me as Will. I live in the town of Poughkeepsie behind the Spackenkill High School. I am a member of Poughkeepsie United Methodist Church. I also am on a board of an after-school program in the city of Poughkeepsie for kindergarten through 5th grade students. And I guess my 2 points are working with at-risk children and providing them an opportunity for a quality education and having positive interactions with police, fire, ambulance, political leaders, etc., is so much less expensive than incarcerating adults. So working together as a community to raise all the children to have an opportunity for a full life, not one in the difficulties of the prison system or the justice system. My second piece is in Dutchess County, there are numerous town police departments, and I've raised this issue, maybe half a dozen years ago at a chamber breakfast. But the idea of a police force pursuing somebody to a town line or removing somebody from one town and leaving them in the next town seems to be less than ideal. And so I'd like to see and hear, and I guess I'd even be willing to work with, the idea of, would it be beneficial to the community, to Dutchess County, to have a county police department as opposed to multiple town police departments, plus the county sheriff, plus the state police? A number of years ago, I had an interaction with some grifters from down south, and town police came, took them to the town line and said, don't come back. But the next town down is Wappingers. And so it just seems it should be a better way to do it than having individual town police departments. That's all. Thank you very much. And I greatly appreciate all of the people who are listening. And I pray to all that we come up with good solutions for just policing, justice, and liberty, I guess, for all. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. So I've seen a few hands pop up and then go away, so I'll just give a moment if you'd like to offer your thoughts, your specific ideas for police reform. Clint Dsouza.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name's Clint Dsouza. I'm a social studies teacher in the town of Poughkeepsie. And I lived in town of Poughkeepsie basically all my life since my family moved up here from the Bronx when I was in 3rd grade. I consider myself a pretty active community member. And actually, the SRO at our building was one who recommended me to join this community forum. I appreciate everybody that put this together and everybody on the call. I think it's a huge step in the right direction in building better community policing. I back a lot of what was said before by previous speakers in terms of a civilian review board, the right to know policy. But I also think it's another idea, and I don't know how to really frame it in a specific way, is to get cops and community members to listen to each other. Something like this in a community forum where the police hear about average citizens experiences with policing and vice versa. I think that goes a long way in, like one of the reverends said, in terms of empathy and understanding each other is walking a mile in each other's shoes. What is it like to go through a daily beat of a police officer? What is it like to be pulled over, while being colored? Those things I think are often forgotten, and we don't really like to put ourselves in other people's shoes in a very divided world that we live in today. And I think it would go a long way to building better community feeling if people knew what was going on in their own lives and in other people's lives on both sides of this issue. And that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Okay, Geraldine Wilmot, if you'd like to continue your statement.
Yes, thank you very much. So I did want to say something about the schools to prison pipeline, and that I firmly believe that police have no place in schools. This is not the Soviet Union. This is not Nazi Germany. We don't need to be policed in our schools. And I would add that, people use the argument that it's for security's sake because we've had shootings. Well, what we need more is mental health care for students. We don't need SROs. The students at the Florida school, I'm not remembering their name right now, Parkland, they never have asked for police in the school. There was an SRO on duty at the time, and he did nothing. So, and I don't know what one guy could do anyway, but police in schools is not where they belong. There's issues of academic freedom. There's issues that students who are brown and black do not feel safe when there are police in their schools. It is not a prep academy for prison. And yet that's sometimes what it looks like. And I can't forget what it looked like to see my 12-year-old students carried out to a police van with shackles on after a fight among students. It's when I went to school, that's not what happened. Your parents came up, you talked about it, there were disciplinary actions possibly, but there is a solution, and it's called restorative justice, and it would be a wonderful solution for the faculty of schools and for policing to be involved in. Restorative justice comes to bring both sides together where there's harm, and people in the community, even a classroom, for instance, can work on a solution for the problem, and the student learns to make amends, and the student also hears how the person that was hurt feels about it. So it's a wonderful solution, but it will require training. I also agree that we need more mobile crisis teams. I don't know that Hyde Park has one for mental health. The city of Poughkeepsie, we know, has recently hired a social worker. And
Geraldine, just to let you know, you have about 20 seconds.
Thank you.
About 20 seconds. You can finish up.
Oh, okay. Finally, I also agree with the Right to Know Act. I think that would be important, where the policeman needs to tell you why you were stopped, and the policeman or policewoman will hand you a card with their name on it, and on the back there will also be a contact in case you have a complaint. In other words, perhaps a website that you could contact.
Thank you, Geraldine. 3-minute mark.
Okay, if you would like to offer your thoughts, your ideas for police reform. Robert Legacy.
Good evening. I'm Bob Legacy. I live in the town of Poughkeepsie. I'm also a member of Engine and the Northern Dutchess NAACP, and Community Voice is heard. I think overall, police do a good job, but it's come to a time when policing in this country has to change to the 21st century. I do believe there should be a civilian review board in every police department. The police cannot police themselves. If there is a problem, many times it's covered under put under the rug. It can no longer happen. What we've seen in Minnesota today in Louisville, and having a minority son, I'm really disappointed. This country has not come a long ways. We need to work on building unity. And everyone says, you know, when you put on a badge, it's automatic respect. I was taught respect is something that's earned. My son has been stopped several times by the police. And one time, the NIGGE word was used. That should never be happening. And in an Engine, we have discussed in the Right to Know Act, you should always know why you're being stopped. And I speak with this from my heart and from the Black community. And Saturday, there's a rally again to talk about stop the violence here in Poughkeepsie. But it cannot happen unless police and community work together. Minorities must be accepted as equals in this community. And as we go down the road in 25 years, minorities will make up 50% of the Dutchess County demographics. We need to change. We need to be better people. And we need to unify and make Dutchess County in this country what it's supposed to be, equal for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. If you'd like to speak, you can raise your hand. So I'll wait a few more minutes just to see if anyone else would like to share their ideas for police reform. Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and transfer over to Freddie. Freddie has some information for us and some closing comments. Go ahead, Freddie.
Thanks, Bailey. So again, just want to remind folks, you can send your comments through the website. You know, we'll be accepting those. So the website again is dutchessny.gov/police reform. We encourage you to go to the website for updates and information and reach out to your municipality for questions regarding their status and process. If you do have questions about the process itself, you can also reach out to Ken Roman, who's the chair of the collaborative, and his email is kroman@dutchessny.gov. That's kroman@dutchessny.gov. And it's listed on the website as well. Thank everyone for participating, including our ASL interpreters, and remind that, you know, again, this is being recorded and you can obviously revisit it after the event.
We do have a few more police reform sessions. Anyone can attend any session. Priority in speaking is given to those with connection to that geographic area. So if you did not speak tonight and you would like to speak, we do have some more forums upcoming. On this Saturday, September 26th, from 3 to 5 p.m., priority speaking will be given to those in the town of Red Hook, including the village of Red Hook and the village of Tivoli, the town of Rhinebeck, including the village of Rhinebeck, towns of Clinton and Milan. On Tuesday, September 29th, we'll have a session from 6 to 8 p.m. for the city of Poughkeepsie. We are also holding 3 Spanish language forums. These are county-wide. They are not by geographic area. So our first forum in Spanish will be on Tuesday, September 29th, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Next on Thursday, October 1st, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then on Saturday, October 3rd, from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Registration and all forum dates are listed on the website. That's also where the recording can be found. I'll give you the specific address for the registration and forum dates. It is duchessny.gov/police reform/community forums. Thank you all again for your attendance and your participation. We deeply appreciate your feedback. I hope everyone has a good evening. Thank you.